I want to clear a couple things up, and then Supervisor Plummer's in queue first. It's just really important that we clear the record because for some reason, a lot of public comment always comes back to me for whatever reason. So the tabulators, I was definitely in favor of getting rid of all machines under the way in which I believed machines were being used. I'm okay with bringing them back because as we talk about observation and chain of custody, see, so much of this comes down to chain of custody. You can't have tubs or open ballots exposed to everybody because then there's no trust. And again, I'm a person that had 3 elections that were within tiny amounts of votes. So it matters greatly to me. And the second thing I want to say is when people say trust, I mean, and this just came in a little bit ago, I believe I haven't been able to substantiate this, but it sounds like the Texas Senate did pass the map that adds 5 GOP seats, eliminating 5 Democrat seats. Again, I don't know if that passed. I just got a text a while ago during break. So if you think elections is not going to be a national or state or local conversation, you're nuts because it's going to get ramped up to the millionth degree. Now, I will say before other people make motions, I'm going to tell whoever's going to make motions, I personally want a shot to see if I can negotiate almost to rent the building for $1 because I'm not going to budge very high, but I do believe that the reason Mr. Curtis for my vote, or the reason I voted for Mr. Curtis is if we want what we've always got, continue to do what you've always done. He is bringing something new, something different, and I think we owe it. Please don't clap. I think we owe it to Mr. Curtis to have the best shot at success, but it's definitely not going to come with massive cost, for my vote anyway, into the general fund, which would then equate to the alternative custody program. So before he makes a motion, I'm just saying it's going to have to just take the lease out of it, because if we can't negotiate that with the individual for $1 and get them on board for what we're trying to do here in the county, then I can't support it because I just can't spend that money. Then, Mr. Curtis, we've got to figure something else out. That's where I am. With that, Supervisor Plummer.
Yeah, I would say I'm in a similar spot in the budget that it has to be either net neutral in terms of how much is pulling from the general fund, or, maybe I would consider for the right thing $100,000. And that's what we did with the DA. It was about $100,000 that we granted in her budget amendment. And so, so I think that takes this current leasing situation off the table. So I would make a motion that Mr. Curtis, if he so desires, would come back with a detailed ROI study on the ballot printers to see if that will save money and how much time. It's hard to go off of kind of just a single number. To let us know if the cameras could be used in the Market Street facility. It sounded like there were some question marks there. And then if neither of those are an option, bringing back a proposal for 3 additional tabulators, which based on my calculations would get us to about $100,000. So that would be my motion, which I know is detailed, so I could repeat it if necessary.
I'm just looking down at Supervisor Long. Okay, so dies for lack of a second, unless somebody needs that repeated. Okay, Supervisor Harmon.
I just got a question, Curtis. We moved all the chairs out of this room once before. Would this room work? We could put permanent cameras up here.
I have to ask Mary Rickert if we can do that.
We can go to Shasta Lake City, ask them if we can have our meetings there, and whatever time that takes, every election cycle, is it week, 2 weeks? How long would you need this room? We'll take all the...
No, well, it's for board discussion, there's no way. I'm not going to kick the public out of here. I'm just trying to move this along.
Wouldn't matter. We'd have to secure the room for a month.
Yeah.
So
Shasta Lake doesn't want us back.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing. But
all right. Supervisor Kellstrom.
All right, and first of all, Clint, you did look. We obviously did look at the building over here. We went extensively over the courthouse, and it would not work, and the ADA compliance, and the lead paint, and everything else. So obviously, we beat that dead horse quite a while. So I'm looking at this. Could you get done what you need done if we were to just rent this building for 4 months? Say if we were to start it like, this week.
Yes, if you rent it for 4 months and we could get the tabulators, you can put off the printers right now, although that's where the money really saves.
Yeah, so the printer is that's off the table because there's just quite frankly we don't have enough time to.
Secretary of State's not going to certify it in time.
Right.
So I just let me get this back up here.
Most likely.
So new building lease, $394,000. If we did that by a month and did 4 months, that'd be $131,000 for the building. So and then take the printer off there. I'm thinking we can cut the utilities in half because the $64,000 we're only going to need it for 4 months. Probably can cut it lower than that. That would bring us right down to like $801,013. You'd still get the cameras, you'd get the tabulators, you'd get the building for 4 months. Get through the election and get it done. Now, if Chairman Cry could get the building for $1, then that would bring us down to $670,000. And so I would make a motion that we rent the building for 4 months, get the cameras, get the tabulators. As far as where the money comes from, I don't want to take away from the alternative custody program. We actually set that money aside back in Chairman Jones' day because Fresno had built a jail for $40 million, and when we got $35 million saved up, we thought we were really close, but then the cost of a new jail was $150 million. So Sheriff has a great plan for at least giving some consequences to some crimes. If a new jail is kind of out of the question right now, but I would make the motion to bring this down for a 4 month at $801,013, less if Chairman Cry can cut the lease down to $1 a month. But while we're negotiating that, I would make that motion, and I would leave it up to CEO Rickert and wonderful Aaron Bertain and yourself to see if we can find the funding somewhere other than the alternate custody program. So that's my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table by Supervisor Kellstrom. For discussion, I'm going to second it, but I'm going to ask you to amend it. One of my, Clint, can you come back up? Yeah, that's why those are reserved. So cameras for voting, I would have to, because here's my thing, right? I'm like, I know, anybody else in here knows if they're honest about it, that the elections is a national and it's a real thing. I have to believe with your reach and experience, there has to be a procurement opportunity we'd have to rent or lease these cameras. I know in my private company, I've used various vendors for massive video walls, sound, trussing, et cetera. I believe, Ms. Blankenship, we've used a vendor multiple times for remote type things. I know Cal Fire, I think, uses NetSound. We've used NetSound. There may be an opportunity, I think, for you to rent this equipment at a fraction of that cost. Because again, I don't want to buy cameras if this tanks and it doesn't go well.
Okay.
I'm just not interested in. That's why you lease a car or rent a car to see if you like it or test drive it, et cetera. So. I'm going to eliminate that cost. I'm going to drive that way down. Now, many of you in here maybe support other people that we didn't select for this position, but everybody that was adamantly against this man was absolutely for over $1 million of tabulators. So if you want to scream and yell, because you would have been elated if we would have bought tabulators for a past employee or a past ROV. So the tabulators I'm okay with because that's still a fraction of the number that many in this room were going to support, actually 2 and 3 times that dollar amount. So I think the tabulator cost is okay. And that, when it comes to the alternative custody program, that money would have come out of that same bucket if this board would have went. Is that the correct statement, CEO Rickert or Ms. Bertain? If we would have done that during budget time, and we would have bought those tabulators, and let's say Mr. Curtis wasn't here because Tom Toller was the ROV, Tom Toller was the ROV. The assistant ROV was Joanna Franciscat. They wanted $1 million something of tabulators, and that was very highly supported by many people. Would that money have come out of the ACP, or not out of the ACP, but out of the general fund?
It would have come out of the general fund,
Okay,
yes.
so we're all clear on that if he wasn't in charge, everybody was okay with that before, but because he's here, all of a sudden we're not. So I'm okay with the 392. But the 145 I'm not. So here is what it's going to come down to for me. I'm going to make a substitute, or I'd ask you to amend your motion, Supervisor Kellstrom. And Supervisor Plummer, I want your fiscal brain as well with this. You said 100,000. 100,000 is because you matched it with the DA, right? You're talking about legal secretaries. You're talking about, I'm not saying they're not important, but you're not talking about prosecutors. We're talking about a very, nominal piece of that office, albeit very important. It's nominal compared to what Mr. Curtis is asking for as the elected himself in terms of doing something that is completely going to, I believe, bring this community together in a way to do it. Or it blows up. That's going to be on you, and we're going to get to see. And that's what's great is we're going to get to see that in November, opposed to having to wait and having you say, come election time, oh, it's going to be great, just give me the chance. No, let's give him the chance. Let's make him walk the plank. And if it bombs, then that's on him. I don't want him saying, or any elected official saying, I didn't get a chance. My hands were tied. So my question, Supervisor Plummer, is I want to work with you on this because it's going to be Supervisor Kellstrom's motion, or maybe I'm just blowing your motion up. I don't know. But I need to know what that number is, because I will say I'm going to have to get that building almost for free, or you and I or Supervisor Plummer can go, but the negotiation, I believe, really has to be, and even if it's not that building, if there's a building that somebody actually believes in election integrity and says, you know what? Yeah, it's a lot of money, but if people here snicker that no business owner's ever going to do that, well, guess what? It probably costs me about $1 million a year to be in office. So I can go tell this guy, look him straight in the eye. He lives in San Mateo. And I asked him this weekend, and I said, hey, here's what we're trying to do. He goes, man, I'm all for that. Well, we'll see if he puts his money where his mouth is. He can go back and watch this. Because if true patriots and true Americans and true people that really care about election integrity, I'm going to give him that and other business owners or building owners the shot. So what's that number, Supervisor Plummer, that you'll get on board with? Because I believe this is a 4/5 vote. It is a 4/5 vote. So 4 of us have to agree on that number. Is it 300,000? Can we get to 400? I don't know.
So I think it would be, there'd be
yeah,
two
yeah,
components.
yeah.
So one, if you're saying the tabulators and the cameras, you're already at.
No, take the cameras out because he's
Well, you're
not-
gonna have to pay for some of it, even if you're renting it or leasing it from someone.
10 grand.
In any case, you're close to $500,000 there, and then if you're talking about getting the lease essentially for free for 4 months, the other thing that I want to make sure is that, okay, say we do it in 4 months and it works, then now are we obligated as the county to now have an $8 million or $3 million?
That's part of the motion. Because here's what I want. I want to prove it out for 4 months. I want to prove it out for 4 months, and then we may not do his thing again for 3 years until we find the building. But at least we can say that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Because we don't know. Because I personally will not lease a building for the clerk for a whole department ever. I will never vote for that. I would rather purchase it. I'd rather us own that asset. I do it in my personal life. I do it in my company's life. I don't do that. I don't want to do that. I mean, can you get on board? Because the tabulators, we agree, we want the tabulators.
Well, I want the tabulators, but I don't want to spend $400,000 out of the jail fund for it. So I'm at 150, which would get him potentially 4 more.
So the tabulators, though, I mean, so the tabulators are going to improve regardless, right? This ROV or anyone in the future.
Well, and I would, the way I would think about it is let's potentially add tabulators slowly over time, versus we're going to take a big hit to the budget by spending, $400,000.
Well, that $400,000 isn't coming out like tomorrow for the ACP. I mean, there are, or I won't say the ACP.
No, I understand.
Because one thing I want to do too is I don't know what the breakdown of that dollar is of what the previous board set aside. Because even though we have the jurisdiction to move anything we want, I still really do believe in what the board voted on in the past, and we uphold that here. And I'll feel the same way when I'm gone. So. I don't know how much money of that. Was it 34 million, Aaron, that we have? 34? Okay. And how much of that was from 23 and 24? Do you know offhand?
I thought that was coming out of general.
No.
I want to say 23, 24 was the year we did the 5 million and the 10 million swap. 24, 25, we did just over 6 million, I believe.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, so if you're.
I mean, I think if you think you can get a facility for next to nothing, then why don't you go try to do that, and then if you can come back and ask for the other expenses that would be necessary to implement the system.
But here's, but no. See, my time's worth something, and I'm not going to go do that. Well, hey, you can laugh if you want, but it's the truth. Please stop talking. You don't understand what I'm even saying, probably. So the reality is, I could go negotiate that, but if you're not on board for the tabulators, it's irrelevant. If I just got a building, essentially 4 months for $1, with no stipulations going,
Well, I don't understand why I understand that the tabulator speed it up, but it doesn't seem essential to what Mr. Curtis is saying in terms of
counting votes in an hour, in less than 2 hours.
I would love that, but I'd love a bunch of other things that I'm not willing to pay for. But in terms of the election integrity piece of it, I don't see how the tabulators are necessary for that piece. They're necessary for speeding it up, but feel free to.
Our conversation, again, this is just between you and I and a few people, but when you were supervisor-elect, one of the things we talked about was you wanted to see what we could do to speed up the vote counting process. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
That is correct. And what I'm saying is, that's why I'm appealing to you on this, is because the tabulators are actually going to take this from 3 weeks to 2 hours. And the difference with the 2 hours versus the 3 weeks and the chain of custody, everything else that goes into that, because again, most ROVs probably in the state use a lot of tabulators. So if you say, if you're committing here right now that if I get that building extremely cheap and you'll be on board with this, I won't hold you to the vote today, but then I want to know that you're actually willing to spend $400,000 or $500,000 on tabulators and the renting of the cameras. If we get that, because I don't want to go do that work if you're still not going to vote for the tabulators, because then we just have a big building. We can't count them because we can't hand count. They have to go through a tabulator.
What I would say is,
Thank you, appreciate it. That's your first warning.
to me, and well, feel free to comment on the tabulators, please.
The reason you need all the tabulators because all of the ballots are counted on election day after the election is over. That's why you need all the tabulators, because you're actually going to be running through 90,000 ballots in 2 hours. So that's why you need that many.
Right, but if you want 16 tabulators and it's going to take you 2 hours for 16, and you have 4 tabulators now, so it took you a quarter of the time, so then it takes you 8 hours. So you could do it in 8 hours,
Okay,
or if it's
yeah.
16 hours. So that's what I'm saying is.
It theoretically could be done in 8 hours, but then you have to stop the count, and you're not allowed to stop the count. So I have to keep them there for 8 hours.
I mean, I think that's what we've done historically, right?
And it
'Cause
takes
we count-
30 days.
But you've broken the law a lot. You're not supposed to stop the count once you're doing it. That's why when you do the mail-in ballots, they do those early, but when you're doing the election ballots, you're not. So when you put all your ballots and you start them at the same time, you pretty much have to finish them in 2 or 3 hours. Or you don't count them that way. You can count all these early, but that loses that whole control over it. Now you've got them all shoved back into here in rooms, sticking them in buckets that nobody secures, no
But
no
if you have the
seals.
cameras, can't you put a camera on that and just have that secure as well and then start the count earlier?
Well, they're going to be counting over a period of a week. They don't start them that day. So over a week, you're going to have to get your observers to try and come in and watch this. The whole point is observing. And if you do it over a week, you aren't going to have the observers do that. So
Okay, well, I'm not changing my mind on the tabulators. I'm sticking to 100 to 150,000 for any consideration for it. If that, in my mind, if you could get the building for next to nothing and you can get your cameras so that you can do, which I think is the crux of the system you're proposing, I would be willing to consider that. But I'm not going to approve. I'm not going to vote for 400,000 for tabulators.
What's that? Yeah, that's a good question. We can't lease tabulators, can we, or can we?
I've never tried. I don't know. I could ask
That's a
them.
great job. That's a great,
I don't know if they'll do them
Supervisor
that
Harmon,
way.
that's a great thing, so let's do
Especially
this.
since we're gonna be running
And
$90,000.
Supervisor Plummer, I respect that, I mean, that's fine with the tabulators. What he is right, I mean, if you look at election code, it's been so blown up and broken and illegal. And that's my thing is I want to stop the claims or actually what I believe to, because I was there. We all probably were there looking into the bat cave or into the different areas, and there's ballots on the floor or whatever else. It's just,
It's a mess.
I want to get rid of that. And I think if we can do it fast, we do it fast, and we do it accurate, and we film it. So can you check into the, because you're not going to get 4 votes. You're not going to get 4 votes, and you need 4.
I can check on it. The issue is that you also have to run through the ballots ahead of time if you want to check every ballot before it actually goes out to the voter. So now we're going to rent it, and we're going to run 180,000 ballots through their machine and then give it back to them. I don't know. They may take that. They may go, you're crazy.
Yeah, well, hold on. Supervisor Kellstrom.
Yeah, so you're saying if we only took, 4 more tabulators, then it would take 8 hours. So in the past elections, the polls close at 8. You get the first numbers that are never even close at 8:20, 8:15, 8:10, whatever, and then you have to wait until 10:30, and you get some more numbers that are a little closer, but they're still not accurate. And I think my election and Kevin's was 1:15 in the morning. We finally got some truer looking numbers. So you're saying though we wouldn't be getting those updates because you would start them all at the same time, and if we only had 4 tabulators, then you're talking 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you can actually kick them out quicker than that. You could actually stop the system and get updates anytime you wanted to. You don't have to run them all the way through.
Okay.
But-
Well, I thought you just said once you started, you had to keep going.
Well, we can't take a break. We can't leave the room and go to sleep. But we can stop the flow.
Okay, I got you.
Check the numbers and start the
So
flow.
you guys would be there at 7 in the morning, and then you'd be finally finishing it up at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock the next morning.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And you can't do that.
I agree.
People will fall over and die.
Supervisor Long. Thank you, Supervisor Kellstrom. Supervisor Long.
Thank you. I think we're getting close to a vote here. My closing comments would be, you have good ideas, okay? We can't afford this. We just cannot afford it, and it comes at a cost of our alternative custody program, everything we're trying to achieve with the land acquisition and the property, and that is a huge priority for our community, a huge priority for me, and I don't want to see this get watered down where we're throwing money at something that there's just too many unanswered questions for me to feel comfortable going forward with this. And I just implore this board to consider what is the most pressing need for our community. And can we afford to spend $8 million? I know there's comment that that's inflated. We can't. And the building has to be dealt with first. And when we're thinking about partial, part-time leases, 3-month leases, let's give it a trial. That's kind of jumping in with both feet into the swimming pool. And that is hugely problematic and expensive. Focus on what our community keeps telling us. We need a jail. We need an expanded alternative custody program, period. We've got the money that has been set aside for that purpose, and I don't want to dilute any of that money out. I want to support that mission because our citizens deserve accountability for criminal activity. And
All right,
that's where I feel.
Do you have a motion or no motion? Senator Blankenship.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to confirm right now, we have a motion and a second on the table only if the maker of the motion was willing to amend it. So I just wanted to clarify if Supervisor Kellstrom was willing to amend and add to his motion the procurement to rent or lease cameras for voting.
I'm going to pull my second.
Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't, there's no, and I think at this point, there's no even need for a vote. Does anybody have any other closing comments before I make a closing comment? I think what we see here, and I think it's healthy. I mean, we definitely have different discussions. I think this is because the cost. What people don't understand is the amount of time this community has taken on elections is not going away. The cost is going to continue to move forward, and I think it's a miss for us not to put our thinking caps on and do a better job of figuring out what some of these hard costs are. I think it's nearsighted. And it is what it is. So, Mr. Curtis, there is no vote taken today. Supervisor Kellstrom made a motion. I pulled my second. Just so you know, I appreciate the presentation. I would encourage you to, whatever, if you want to, I mean, I don't know how you can bring something back or what the next steps would be. I want to see your camera and how you can, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that that's, anyway.
It is
all right,
what it
thank
is.
you. No, it's good.
Thank you.
All right, so is there, Ms. Blankenship, is there anything else on the calendar?
No, Chair, that's it.
Mr. Rickert?
Nothing additional.
All right, with that, have a good night. This meeting is adjourned.